I'll start with a basic question. I just need you to say and spell your first and last name for me.
All right, my first name is Clare, C-L-A-R-E. Last name is Cook, C-O-O-K.
Great. Claire, where did you grow up? Where are you from?
I'm from Lafayette, and I grew up in Lafayette and lived here all the way until I was 17, and then I went to LSU to go to college in Baton Rouge, and then I moved to New York City.
Oh wow, that's a drastic change.
Yeah, it was definitely a big change, both in climate and culture.
Yeah.
But a very welcome change, and it was a great. I lived there for a decade.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
So what did you do there? What was?
Well, first went there to get my Master's of Fine Arts in Dance. I went to NYU, the Tisch School of the Arts, to get a dance degree there. So the first 2 years I was in New York were spent in grad school. And then I just continued to work in the city, both as a dancer, a performer, and a choreographer, and in arts administration, and many, many other freelance hats that I wore along the way. But it was wonderful. It really became a home, and I still, go back a lot for different friends, family projects, and I definitely feel like I still have another home there, which is really cool.
Yeah. What brought you back to Lafayette after New York City?
I came home, I ended up getting married in 2014.
Okay.
And my husband was also living in New York at the time, but we both were from Lafayette.
Wow,
So,
small world.
Yeah, so various turn of life events and opportunities brought us back here towards the end of 2015.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was a good return.
And I know you work at Basin Arts. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. The organization was founded in the summer of 2016 and was sort of this brainchild of mine that is at the center based on artistic collaboration and really focusing on the creative process versus the creative product. So that became something that I was really inspired by, especially living and working in New York City and having the chance to collaborate with artists of many different disciplines all the time and sort of feeding off of that really amazing creative energy. That was sort of a fear of mine when I thought about moving home. I knew Lafayette was a great place to live and family was here, but I was nervous about what that might feel like to kind of feel a part of a creative community and feed off of high creative energy and artists of different disciplines. So that was sort of where the seed of Basin Art started, and now it's amazing. I feel like there's a constant revolving door of creative energy and brain and heart and passion. So it's really great.
So New York, lots of arts and culture there. Did you, and you talked about Lafayette and the potential here for bringing the arts here. Did you learn anything in New York that you wanted to implement here in Lafayette?
Oh, I learned oodles, it was just, I think it was being a part of a larger arts community matched also with, being in my 20s and sort of like being this giant sponge of a person that was just hungry to absorb whatever I had my hands on. So it was just a really exciting, a really alive time. And I think there's so many layers of knowledge that I cherish through my experience there, and I look forward to sharing, and I'm constantly learning here too. It's not like there's one place where you learn and then there's one place where you teach. I think it always goes hand in hand. But a big takeaway is just sort of that belief in the professionalism of your artistic craft, and I think just purely being around more people in a larger volume of creative professionals, that's a big thing that I carry home with me, is just being able to truly find that professional respect for yourself and for the artist around you, and really trying to cultivate a community here of professionals that value each other creatively, artistically, monetarily, and sort of like build this community that is self-sustaining.
Great. So for those people that are watching, how can they get involved with Basin Arts? Do you have performances that they're welcome to attend, participate in fundraisers? Tell me a little bit more about that.
One of the simplest ways to get involved is we always have open classes. So If you're into movement, we have a full schedule of open dance classes and movement classes for adults of all levels. So if you've never ever taken ballet and you're in your 40s and you're like, that is a dream to learn how to do ballet, we have a class for you, you know? Or if you have danced your whole life in Lafayette and you grew up performing through school, but you don't really have a place to do it, yet you're not pursuing maybe your professional career, we have a class for you.
Okay.
We also have a resident dance company. So for those professional level dancers, if you don't want to move across the country to find work and performance opportunities, we have a dance company. So dance is a huge part of what we do, but we also have visual art classes that are ongoing. So similarly, painting and drawing and other creative platforms. And then almost every week we have community programming that's totally free. So we have things like critique night. So if you're an artist working on a new project, you can bring parts of that project and you can get feedback. We have community discussions, often centered around artists and the arts, but really kind of trying to create a home for practicing artists to network, to get to know each other, to support each other, and to, again, like build up their professionalism from the inside out.
Gotcha. And Basin Arts is a nonprofit organization, correct?
We are, yes.
So how do you primarily get the majority of your funding?
Well, we are just getting started as a nonprofit.
Great.
So we're still kind of growing into that. But my hope is that thus far it's been more individual support, but my hope is that we'll kind of foray soon into the granting world.
Are you planning any fundraisers or anything coming up soon?
We don't have anything on the books. We
Okay.
just completed a fundraiser last week, actually, but to benefit the United Way of Acadiana. We were a member of their Bucket Brigade.
Yes.
So that's something that we did for the first time this year. But I'm sure all of that will come.
Yeah.
We literally just got all of our paperwork in place about a month ago.
That's great. And I follow you guys on Facebook, and you have a wonderful Facebook page.
Oh,
You're
thank
always
you.
updating it,
Thank
and
you.
there's some wonderful photography too.
We have fun with it because
Yeah.
we do so much within our walls, and it's almost sometimes makes my head spin. Wait,
Yeah.
what's going on today?
Yeah.
So I find that the work of social media is there. You know, it becomes a task to keep up with, but I actually love the participation that we get from the social media because it's a really fun way to document what we're doing. And when you go back and you look through Facebook or Instagram, it's for me like fun to remember, remember when we did that one event? That was so cool. So it's this really cool living archive in a way.
Yeah, it is. It is. In hearing you speak about the arts, it's clear to see that you're very passionate about it. Is there anyone within the arts world that is very influential to you, or someone that you looked up to, or was a mentor?
I mean, I've had the fortunate opportunity to have so many mentors every step of the way. I guess I could name several.
Feel free to.
Yeah, okay, great. I think that, you know, when you're younger, it's your dance teacher. So, I mean, I grew up dancing here at Delarue Dance Center, and Carol Delarue and Dawn Delarue were my teachers and my friends and my support system. And as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, that is a huge thing to have teachers that facilitate a place for you to feel like yourself, for you to feel inspired, for you to feel alive and excited about your craft. So, I mean, I think that's not to be discounted. And there's so many teachers in this community and dance schools. I feel like not to take that opportunity for granted, to like really inspire your students at all levels. When I was in New York City, I, among other mentors, but I had the really wonderful privilege to work with Susan Stroman, who is a Tony Award-winning Broadway director and choreographer. And I was the first time I worked with her, I was the observer through a program of the Stage Directors and Choreographers Foundation. So I had the opportunity to just sit in on her Broadway rehearsal period for Bullets Over Broadway, a new musical she was developing. And that was an incredible ride for me because I was the observer, but within about 24 hours, I was also the tap dancer, the the person that was learning all of the material, moving the set pieces around, giving an actor lines if I needed it. But I really became it it was just the coolest bird's eye view experience of how a show of that caliber comes together from page to stage. And she really was and is an inspiration to me in terms of a strong woman that is generously and gracefully and creatively, you know, working at the highest level, but doing it with such care and with such compassion. I mean, I always felt included. I always felt welcome. It never felt like I was the kid in the corner, you know, like it was a really special opportunity. And then that ended up leading to a couple years later, she invited me and asked me to kind of head up the national tour. So I got to restage her choreography as the choreographer for the national tour.
Nice. Wow.
And that was another amazing
What was that like?
opportunity. It was incredible. I mean, I worked with some of the most talented performers, you know, in the industry. And it was also just this giant step forward for me professionally, kind of proving to myself that, okay, this is a huge responsibility and you're in the care of someone else's work that is excellent. And this person, Susan Stroman, you know, has Tony Awards, and you're the person that she's entrusted to care and carry her work forward. Like, it's a huge responsibility. And in practice, it's like studying for this giant math test every day, you know, because you're learning every step down to the nth degree, and this count and that movement and that arm and that gesture and that focus. And I think it was a real amazing challenge, because it was a challenge, but every day it was a good reminder of a life lesson that, like, if you believe that you can do something and you really put the effort in, it's worth it time and again, you know?
Wow.
So that was a really cool professional moment. Yeah.
Right. What about any personal mentors or anyone in your family or friends, any of those circles that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, I mean, my parents have been incredible. I was just telling them last night, actually, how I'm so grateful to them for always encouraging sort of my artistic sense of adventure in a way that I'm sure, I imagine, as parents, when you're, you know, 18-year-olds, like, okay, I'm moving to New York City and I'm going to go live here for a summer and I'm going to do, you know, and I'm sure it was really hard to just be like, okay, great, we wish you luck, you know, and not freak out in the back end.
They probably were a little internally.
Yes, and I was the oldest of 5 kids, so I was sort of like the person that did it. I had to figure it out for myself, and there was no sibling before me that proved to my parents, like, it's going to be fine, you know, like I was the one that had to test all the waters.
The guinea pig.
Yeah, and but I think they were just so awesome in the fact that they really have and continue to find this unique balance of support and encouragement. Like, I always feel that they are in my corner, but they have a nice way of creating some space and some autonomy at the same time, where I don't feel like I'm being hovered over or judged or, you know, I mean, I think they've definitely, they are an inspiration in the way that they have created a way for me to make my own place in the world, you know? And I think that's something that is really unique. It doesn't always happen that way.
Right. All right, I'm going to change gears on you a little bit. Let's talk about AOC and how long you've been a member and how you first got involved with AOC.
Sure. I joined last year officially as an AOC member, and it was sort of funny because I felt like I'd been working with the organization for a few years in various projects, and then one day I realized, oh wait, I actually didn't ever join, you know, like, I've been doing these projects, I should become a member. The first time I ever worked with AOC was in 2014. I was still living in New York, but the Acadiana Symphony Orchestra had invited me to create a new dance version of Stravinsky's Firebird. And at the time, and maybe still, the symphony and AOC had a partnership where AOC would film all of the symphony's productions. And I remembered they had arranged to film Firebird. And coming from New York City, where everything is an uphill battle sometimes to get the best photography, the best videography, And in live performance, that is all you have when it's all said and done. All you have is a really beautiful documentation of the dance, because if you didn't see it live, that's it, you know?
Yeah.
And having worked in New York City as a freelance artist, it was always sometimes, you know, a day late and a dollar short. The videographer, you got to come in and shoot your show, didn't show up, or they missed the first piece, or the edit was off, you know, so it was always like you had some recollection of what happened, but it wasn't great. And I remember Ed Bowie had given the hard drive of Firebird back, and within a week too. It wasn't like
months.
Yeah. And I remember putting it on my computer, and I mean, I was floored. I was like, this is amazing. Like, it was so beautifully shot. And it was just such this giant gift creatively to have a beautiful documentation of your work. And it was lined up to me because I wasn't expecting it. So I think that was really an eye-opening experience, not only at the awesome work of AOC, but also because it was before I had moved back to Lafayette. It was this great realization that to make work as an artist in a community that has these resources that are so graciously shared and used to support the endeavors of one another is really is unique and not everywhere.
Well, thank you. That's a huge compliment to us.
Truly. But since that time, I mean, AOC has been a partner on several of the shows that I've produced at the Acadiana Center for the Arts. And in addition to that, I've worked with AOC through an ACA teacher education grant and worked directly to help choreograph and sort of lay out in movement a dance film that was a dance adaptation of the Ms. Marvel book, which was the Lafayette Reads book last year. So that was sort of an ongoing project that I also worked with AOC, which was really fun and nice to work with kids and the technology. So it was cool.
Do you have any projects in your head that you'd like to see, unfold in the future?
Always, yeah. Give me a call. No, I think there's a lot of dance work happening at Basin Arts through Basin Dance Collective, which is the resident dance company, and a lot of developing interest in dance film and, films that are made or dances that are made intentionally for the screen. So who knows, maybe there's some dance film future together.
Sounds like a good idea. Changing gears again, let's talk about music. What type of music do you like to listen to? Who would be on your favorite playlist that you would listen to all day?
Let's see. Well, I love, so I have Spotify.
Okay.
And Monday morning, I get to work really early, usually on Mondays because it's quiet. And one of my favorite things to do is drink my first cup of coffee at my desk and put on my Discover Weekly on Spotify, which is sort of this custom, they somehow get in your brain and like figure out what music you like. But every week they give you a new playlist of new artists, and it's usually people you've never heard of. And that is one of my favorite things because it's a great way to be introduced to new music. And as a choreographer and a dancer, I am utilizing music all the time. I'm teaching class, I'm choreographing, I'm in rehearsal, I'm leading workshops, and I'm constantly in need of just so many styles, from classical to electronic to pop to ambient to percussive music. I mean, in any one 90-minute dance class, I would use very easily all of those styles.
Yeah.
So the Discover Weekly is really the greatest invention ever, because it just every week gives me these new ideas. And then through that, if I hear one song that I like, then I kind of can go down that rabbit hole and hear other work by that artist or related artists. So, I mean, yeah, my music tastes run the gamut. I was this morning listening to Chopin, followed by this really beautiful new collection of like choral music by David Lang, followed by a body of work created by these women adolescents in a prison in Africa. Like just, that was all this morning.
Variety.
But I love it. I mean, music is such an inspiration. And so I feed off of hearing as many different styles all the time.
in changing to, I guess, what some of your hobbies are, do you like to read? Are you reading any books right now? Are you inspired by, some local authors or?
Yeah, I really enjoy reading, and I cherish the time in my life where I will have more time to read a whole book.
Yeah.
I have a handful of books. Usually, I guess I am slightly dance focused all the time, but I love reading about choreographers or about other artists and their creative process. So I usually have a couple of books on my nightstand that I rotate through, and usually get about 5 to 10 pages in. And
Gotcha. Yeah.
fall asleep.
That's pretty common too.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm waiting for that day where I can read books and garden, whenever that moment will come.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a fun question, and the answers certainly vary, but if you could have dinner with several different famous people, living or deceased, who would they be and why?
Oh my gosh, I knew you were going to ask me this question, but I'm not prepared.
That's okay.
Oh my goodness.
It could be a celebrity, someone in history, it could be...
Yeah. Okay, I would be interested in having dinner with, let's see, Florin Ziegfeld and one of his follies, Oprah, Eleanor Roosevelt, maybe Harriet Tubman, and who would round out this dinner party? I don't know. I think like one of my ancestors, like a great grandmother,
someone that you've never
that
met.
I've never met.
Yeah. Well, that would make an interesting dinner party. Yeah.
I would like to attend that party.
Yeah. And in speaking of dreaming, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you want to go, and why?
Let's see. I really love France. I've only been there a few times, but it's one of those places that in terms of traveling, I have less of a wanderlust to go everywhere, but I have this desire when I travel to certain places, I want to go back so many times that it starts to feel like a home. Yeah. So I feel like Paris and France is that place for me. I've been a few times and it keeps seeping in. Yeah. So I want to just keep going until it sort of becomes a part of me. Right.
I've been to Paris myself, and I'm presuming you went to the Louvre Museum.
I know, I haven't been
What?
yet, so I have to go.
Sorry, I'm going to edit that out.
Well, no, because I went only one time when I was very young to Paris, so I didn't go. And then the last time I was only there for a handful of days, and it was on my honeymoon. Yeah. But we were doing other things, so.
Well, sure.
Yeah, well, just traveling around. So we said at that point we would come back and spend like a longer time.
What sites did you go see in Paris?
We did the high points. We did the Eiffel Tower. We did Montmartre and Sacré-Cœur. And we went to the Paris Opera and saw the Paris Opera Ballet and had a few dinners and sort of just had jet lag too, you know?
Sure, yeah.
But no, I think Paris and France generally as a country and sort of the variety of that country, I feel like that seems to be, for me at least right now, the next place I want to sort of adopt as another home.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Just a few more questions and then we're going to wrap it up. But what are you looking forward to doing for the rest of 2018? Do you have any goals of yours that you'd like to accomplish?
Yeah, 2018, I'm really looking at it as a year, both personally and creatively, as a year of sort of like taking the energy that's been growing and allowing it to kind of seep out more through whether it's performances or just new connections, meeting new people, new opportunities. It's sometimes as performance artists, it's very easy to work so long and so hard on this one moment, and then you have it, and then, okay, go back to rehearsal for another 6 months, you know? And I think sometimes it's hard to just put ideas out in the world for other people to see and and just be open to the process of feedback and evolution and change. And so I think for 2018, that's something that I'm really thinking a lot about is don't hold on to something too long. You know, both ideas, stuff, all philosophically, all things, you know, just let things flow and sort of be open to the response and the communication and the connections that come out of that.
That is great advice.
Yeah. I'm working on it. It's February. I'm working on it.
Yeah, you've got through December.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Can you describe yourself in 3 words?
Let's see. I would say authentic, clear, and heartfelt.
All right. Sounds great, Claire. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank
Really
you
appreciate
so
it.
much.
You're done.
All right, that was easy.